Hi, and welcome to Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're looking at the game Blue Moon City from CMON. The many peoples of Blue Moon City must rise from the dust and rubble of their once beautiful city to rebuild it to its former glory. In the game, players must reconstruct buildings, specifically the obelisk. It's a 2 to 4 player hand management and area influence game by Reiner Knizia. CMON sent us an updated edition, so let's check it out now. To set up the game, place the courtyard tile in the center with the 4 starting tiles adjacent to it. Then place the rest of the tiles randomly around it to create the board. Place the obelisk and other tokens near the board using a set number of golden dragon scales for your player count. Give each player their tokens and miniature. Deal 8 cards to each player, and then you're ready to begin. At the beginning of your turn, you have the choice to move up to 2 spaces. Then you may make a contribution. If contributing to the reconstruction of a building, pay the number of cards matching that space's color and place a marker on that spot. You may also use the powers on other cards to maximize your resources. Once the building is filled, it is scored. Each contributor gains a construction bonus, and the player with the majority receives an additional bonus. Players also receive a bonus from any neighboring buildings that have already been reconstructed. You may also go to the courtyard tile and spend your crystals to make a contribution to the obelisk. Players will pay the cost shown on the lowest spot, and once the obelisk has been completed, the game ends and the player who has made the most contributions to the obelisk wins. So Blue Moon City is a classic Reiner Knizia game that has been out of print for some time, and CMON has picked it up and is bringing it back to the forefront. And this edition has all brand new artwork. The gameplay itself is exactly the same, and then it also has some additional expansion tiles that were not included in the original game. They were available for some time after it was first come out, but they're all included in this edition of the game. One thing I didn't mention when I was talking about the gameplay is how the dragons work. The dragons can be summoned to the board using some of the card actions, and if you happen to have a dragon on the building that you're reconstructing, you gain a bonus scale. Now, the dragon scales are very beneficial in that once they are all gone from the supply, you will score those. If you have the most, you gain a bonus. And then if anybody else happens to have over 3 scales, then they also receive crystals. And the crystals are important because that's how you win the game, by spending the crystals to place your tokens on the obelisk. So gaining those dragons to your spaces on the board when you happen to reconstruct buildings, I think is an interesting mechanic that allows you to maybe mitigate not being able to get around to as many spaces on the board. One thing I enjoyed about this game is that the deck is very balanced. There are only cards 1, 2, and 3 of each color, and each color kind of focuses on a different ability. So some of them focus on moving the red dragon, some of them focus on moving the green dragon, some of them focus on being able to use your cards as wild, and so there's a variance there, but balance in that the 1 cards are the most powerful actions you can use. The 2 cards have a lesser action, and then the 3 cards don't have any action at all. But the 3 cards are a little easier to use to spend for those building reconstructions on your turn. So I like that balance that's there. One thing that I didn't like about the game, well, I did. I do love the new artwork. I love the color scheme. I love that they didn't pick the standard primary colors. However, if you're colorblind, this may not be the best fit for you without making some modifications. The cards themselves are all easy to play with in that they all have a different border around the edge. but the tiles have the same border, and so even if you're not colorblind and you're playing in a low light situation, you're going to have a very difficult time differentiating between the maroon and the dark brown and the gray. They all kind of meld together, and when they're spaced differently on the board, since you have a variable setup, it makes it difficult to differentiate between the colors on the tiles themselves on the board, even though you may be able to tell in your hand what you have. So that's the one con that I see of this reprint. It could be modified if you need that modification by marking the different tiles. But otherwise, I enjoyed this updated edition. The gameplay is excellent, obviously, since it's a classic that has been brought back. If you haven't played the original and want to give this one a try, I would recommend it. The gameplay is absolutely fantastic. So if you're interested in this game, check it out from CMON, and then don't forget to check out our other videos from Tantrum House.